How did you get here? How did you arrive at the conclusion that, according to a tweet that I read, last week, or maybe it was a week or two ago, and I found this interesting. I know people who mask and do it with the belief of doing so with respect and consideration of others, but the evidence is beyond reasonable doubt. There is no pandemic, never was. We were duped. Wearing masks perpetuates the falsehood and a lie. Shame all those who live the lie. How did you arrive at believing all of that?
Well, it's been over the course of a little more than a year, obviously. So some of the facts that lead me to that conclusion is in Canada, and the Canadian numbers are not that dissimilar from most other jurisdictions, but in Canada, greater than 96% of all people who have died with COVID are seniors with existing comorbidities, and on average 2.5 comorbidities. So they were very sick and elderly people. Mm-hmm. We know that nearly 80% of all fatalities with COVID have occurred in our nursing homes, in our long-term care facilities.
Just got to stop you there. It's the number is actually 69% across Canada, and internationally the number is 41%.
It varies. That number has last summer it was 90%. But it's the point is that a great many of people are elderly, who are at risk, are elderly and who are sick, very sick. You don't go into a long-term care for a long time generally. I think we can all agree with that. And also the average age of death is about 84, which is 2 years longer than our average life expectancy in Canada. So we know that those are some of the essential facts that who is at risk from COVID, and then you can throw in a bunch of other information, but we'll get into. I think that's a good starting point. That, and I would say this, but when you look at the government orders and the impositions and the view of what needs to be done to counter those facts, all the measures are imposed on people who are not at risk, who don't fit those categories. Young children in school who the evidence is clear are not at risk. Business people, small businesses must be closed up, but large businesses are permitted to remain. They're safe. I don't think anyone understood that, by the way. No matter if you believe. No, I get it. I get why people do it. I get the big business got to operate because of their relationships politically. That's not the question. Is what does that have to do with saving people who are at risk in long-term care? What does that have to do with saving people who are at risk, who are frail and elderly and have comorbidities? That's the question, not but we're told that is a precaution, and it's a reasonable imposition. It's also reasonable to limit and ration our health care for all those other people who are not at risk. And we've seen this. Hundreds of thousands of people in need of medical procedures are not being done. In my question to the Minister of Health last June, she told us at that time that over 200,000 needed medical procedures were not done. So we have to look at the consequences of what we're doing, as well as the context of what we're doing things in.